And thank you for joining us here on PM Express. In the last 24 hours, the Cecilia Dapaah scandal has accelerated beyond what any of us imagined on Friday when the story first broke. It came to light because it's been ongoing before the court for quite a while before it came to our attention, courtesy of a front page newspaper story that told us that the case had been in court. Fast forward 48 hours on, she has been arrested. She has resigned. Her home has been searched tonight. A lot happening. And we've talked about legality and the alleged corruption, etc. But there is one factor to this conversation that we must pause to reflect on. And that is the economic cost of hoarding cash. And why is it relevant? Remember that Ghana is still deep in the midst of an economic crisis that we haven't experienced before in our generation. And that's why this is important. Is Cecilia Dapaah's predicament one that is simply the tip of the iceberg? And I submit to you hypothetically, we'll try and find out if my hypothesis is right, that it is indeed the tip of the iceberg. There is a politically astute individual who has been there and done that, who actually says that what we've seen Cecilia Dapaah go through over the last few hours and few days that we've come to know of is just a tip of the iceberg, because he himself was one who also got money stolen for him because he kept it at home. So when he spoke about it, he says all politicians, he says without exception, all keep huge sums of money at home. I'm telling you who was saying that in an interview in 2004 and wrote a book about it also later on in my presentation. But let's get into the details if you're just joining us. And now, relaxing in your home after work, finding out what has happened in the case of Madame Cecilia Dapaah, who is now the former Sanitation and Water Resources Minister. She has been arrested today, formally by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. We know that for certain. He had arrested her. She went to the Special Prosecutor's office today. She was interrogated for hours by officers. And we understand at the end of the process, they put a hand on her and told her she was under arrest. What we know also tonight is that she hasn't been charged. She hasn't been charged with anything just yet. But we also know that she has had her house searched. 2 homes, in fact, being searched tonight by officers of the Special Prosecutor. They went there. What were they looking for? From our sources, we're looking to see what else can they find. Can they find any evidence that will help their case, including is there more money being kept there? Because if you read a story that was filed, we know that as far as Madame Cecilia Dapaah is concerned, part of the money they themselves didn't know about because they were not tracking, and the house helps had taken the money over a period and only got caught when the husband chanced on what was happening in the house. So the OSP is interested. But also, that's what has happened the whole day today. But there's also some criticism for the president. Of course, on the back of the resignation, the president has said a few things. That one, that he is confident that her integrity will shine through and that her full, the integrity will be exonerated in essence at the end of the process. Many people have said that these comments are prejudicial, especially at the time he was saying this, he didn't know what else was going to happen, although Madame Cecilia Dapaah herself had said she was going to submit herself to the process, and the process had kicked in. The investigating bodies have stepped in. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is doing a job. And by the way, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is tonight expanding the probe to include family relations of Cecilia Dapaah and the husband, because we understand in the interrogations today she may have mentioned that part of that money isn't for her after all. But that would be a contradiction also on the face of the charge sheet, because it is there in black and white that the money, at least the $1 million and the 300,000 euros, were all for her. So that's where we are tonight, in the midst of also the president's old controversial comment that had been criticized. So she's resigned, and as we know, why is she resigning? Because she doesn't want to hinder the investigation and the government business to also cooperate fully with the state agencies, conduct herself. She says she's done it with integrity. As far as the Minister of Sanitation is concerned, she believes she'll be fully exonerated, of course, and that is why due process is currently underway. She believes there's inconsistency between the public discussions and the original complaint. But this statement also raises even more questions than answers, because we just got to know about this last Friday. But the case has been going on for months now. And if you read the documents, the theft happened between June and October of last year. The investigators have been looking into this. They've spoken to her extensively. Before investigators file any case in court, they would have met her a few times and gone over the facts. So when they file that in court, she will know that prosecutors are not going to court to file details of the court documents with facts coming from anywhere else other than from herself and what they gather in interrogating people. And so when she says it's inconsistent, when did she know that the facts, as the prosecutors had it and were filing and now had filed, were inconsistent? Is it only when it became public that she found that it's inconsistent? There are a lot of questions. I'm pretty sure that the special prosecutor himself would have asked her when she appeared before him today. And that's the point, really, that it does not reflect what was reported to the police. So what was reported to the police precisely, and when did she find that out? Now, a few things to note as we begin to talk about how much. And a lot of you are beginning to digest this. $1 million. $1 million is what was stolen as far as the charge sheet is concerned and what the prosecutors filed. Also, we know a few other things went also missing. This is money that I would really, really like. Everybody likes money. And this is what? 300,000 euros, also stolen by one patient's BOTWE, who also happens to be a house help of hers. And as we know, they've been charged with a lot of charges and under investigation. There's more. Now we come to the good old city. 350,000 of that also stolen by the house help, and they went on a spending spree. But in terms of cash, $1 million, 300,000 euros, and 350,000 cedis is not all. There were a few other things that also went missing. Kente, very expensive. Kente indeed also went missing. 6 pieces of assorted Kente clothes vanished, worth 90,000 cedis went missing. What else went missing? Stolen. 6 pieces of suit. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lost in the house. Belong to the husband. How much we're talking about? I'm talking about $3,000. Again, they stole the suits. I mean, you pick the suits. I mean, clearly you'll be caught, because a person will come home and realize that the suit is missing. Except the person has so many of them that they physically can, keep count, and then may not know what's happening there. So yes, 6 pieces of suit also stolen. There's more, by the way. Wait for it. Again, we saw a lot of this, assorted clothes, also stolen, allegedly, let me emphasize that, by the house helps, worth 95,000 cedis stolen, allegedly, by the house helps. Remember, it's an investigation, and this is being investigated. And so nothing is conclusive yet, including the innocence of Madame Dapaah herself, until proving otherwise. Oh, this is what the women would like. Beautiful handbags indeed. Guess how much that was worth? $35,000 worth of assorted handbags stolen, allegedly, by the house helps also. Beautiful handbags indeed. And yeah, it comes at a cool $35,000 worth of that taken from the house, allegedly, according to the charge sheet that we've been reading. Oh, goodness me. I love perfumes very recently. I can't afford the expensive ones, so I just go with what I can. It's cheap, Tony. You buy it, cheaply and wear it with nice suit. I look all nice. I'm smelling good, but that comes nowhere near the cost of what you see on the television, because it's worth a whopping $1,400 worth of this. Assorted perfumes were also taken from the house, allegedly, by the house help. So a lot went missing in the house, including jewelry. Of course, we're talking about a woman. If you talk about perfumes and handbags, you can't leave out perfumes. And if it's true, as has been alleged, that they actually took all that I presented to you before, why would they leave the jewelry? They went after the jewelry as well. Assorted jewelry, $95,000 worth of assorted jewelry, also allegedly taken from the house by the house helps. So that is the charge sheet as we've seen. But there are a few inconsistencies on the charge sheet that we picked up on. Because if you look at the amount that has been quoted in the charge sheet and the amount in words, there's a discrepancy. Because they start to talk about 300,000 euros, right? But if you look at the figure, they talk about 300 million euros. These are two different amounts. This is significantly more than that. Written in words, 300,000. Written in numbers, 300 million. And that's not all. So that's the first contradiction we saw. In the chart sheet that have been amended, it has been amended a few times. The last one, I think, being on the Friday evening, it was amended. This mistake is repeated. However, the $1 million never go away. It is constant. Another contradiction we found in the numbers between hard words and numbers says the 350,000 Ghana cedis. Again, there too, they put up 350 million cedis. So maybe when she says there were inconsistencies, maybe she was referring to this. But where you have a conflict between what you write in the words and what you write in the numbers, what do you work with? I don't know. Maybe my guest will help me with an answer. And then talking about the economic side of this, before I sit down with my guest, we've just been asking that question. And that's where I guess the big conversation begins. First thing to note, if you hoard foreign currency, there'll be a decreasing supply of the foreign currency. Let's take dollars for a minute, right? If you hoard it and put it at home, less dollars you have in circulation in the system. Less dollar in the system will lead to appreciation of the forex because you have shortage. When you have shortage, the forex rate will go up, dollar rate will go up. And when dollar rate goes up, the problem you have, the first two things you begin to see is one, depreciation of the cedi. The dollar will strengthen locally because a lot of people are keeping their dollars at home, creating a shortage, artificial sometimes. But that's the problem when you hoard your money, dollars or any other foreign currency in an economy where legal tender is cedi. That cedi will begin to depreciate. A second thing will happen, import prices will go up. And let me quickly use the importation of fuel products, finished products, onto the market. Last year, Bloomberg reported that the cost of imports of fuel products, finished products onto the market was 450 million a month. It jumped from 250 million to 450 million. You know why? Because it was costing them far more using the dollars to buy, using the cedis to buy the dollar because it was the depreciation. It's costing a lot more. So it jumped. It costing them a lot more cedis to buy this. And then the Bank of Ghana said, we can only give you 100 million. So they have to find the rest of the forex somewhere. They have to go to the black market, and that also pushes the thing up. And then when that happens, it will then, when they bring it in at the high cost, because some people are hoarding and leading all to all this, fuel prices will go up at the pumps, cost of transportation will go up, the transporting food into Accra, for example, from the village will also be affected. The cost of food will go up at the markets. And when that goes up, inflation, you begin to see also now playing a significant role in this whole equation. And that's the beast right there. 42.5% is the inflation rate as we speak. And many people say it's food inflation. And food inflation in the country, possibly one of the factors causing it is cost of transportation. So you see, when you hoard cash, it begins to affect you in your pocket. The more people hoarding foreign currency we have in the economy, we're going to begin to see inflation beginning to bite a bit more. So this is the economic cost. We're beginning to expand this a bit more. And I like OBED ASAMOAH. And why is what I just told you important? If you have many more people, he had 100 million stolen. He had an old Ghana cedi. Let me emphasize that. Old Ghana cedi. So nothing compared to what we are talking about now. Stolen from his residence. And he was stolen by police officers who, by the way, were prosecuted as well. Opponents accused him, he said in his book, and this is we took from his book, that he was hoarding money. That was back then. And then he also said they accused him of being corrupt. But there's something he said later on in 2004 in an interview in the Chronicle that, for me, summed it up, and that's how I end my presentation. He said, those who accuse me of all these things are hypocritical, quoting him using that word exactly. And why did he say that? He says, look, all politicians, all political leaders keep loads of cash at home because you cannot deal with the political emergencies on a basis of issuing checks. All politicians, all political leaders. He may be an exaggeration because all politicians may be an exaggeration, but at least he was saying something that a lot more people, a lot more political players keep money at home. And they do so because if you want to deal with political emergencies, you cannot do so on the basis of writing checks. When they're doing a campaign, they keep the monies in their car boots and in their cars. They drive it around, they reach a place, they pick it, and they do business there, political business. And so what Cecilia Dapaah is accused of, she's not been proven guilty yet. It's just an allegation. They just prove out that it's not hers. What she's accused of, according to OBED ASAMOAH, who himself had 100 million stolen from him, is just a tip of the iceberg. And if that is so, then it is legitimate to ask the question, what is the economic cost? When I return, Joe Jackson is with me in the studio. He has some fascinating insight into what we are talking about and how that might affect you, the banking system, and the financial sector generally. And then we will have also Dr. Edouard Nanientwi. He's a lawyer, so I'm really looking forward to hearing his thoughts on this. But he is also the immediate past boss of the Securities and Exchange Commission. And then my good friend, Professor Godfrey BOTWE, will also join us with his thoughts on this matter because of the economic angle. And then, of course, banking consultant, Dr. Richmond Utiahene, all coming together for a conversation about this beast, beyond Cecilia Dapaah, what really is the economic cost of many more people keeping their monies at home and hoarding them, as Dr. OBED ASAMOAH said. Stay with me after the break. We'll have a conversation.